My name is Jay from Asia Pacific Sydney office. Along with me, I have Rowency. She's our Filipino senior student counselor. She also sits beside me in the Sydney office. Right, we will be talking about the TR as well as the student visa pathways for Australia today. This is just a disclaimer that whatever information we are sharing with you is general in nature. Okay, if you want to talk about your specific cases, do feel free to reach out to us. I will be sharing the contact details shortly on the chat box, as well as it will be there at the end of the presentation. So you guys can take a screenshot whenever you're comfortable, and we will start now. All right. So again, study pathways for TR visa holders as well as the student visa holders. The first thing we will be looking at for somebody who is right now in Australia, right? Right now in Australia, and they are on their 485 visa, which is the post-study work visa. And they have done a degree in the past where they feel that they are facing some challenges. So they can study some of these courses, which you can do on fast track basis if you're on 485 or 408 visa, which is the COVID visa or the post-study work visa, which is a big list, which starts from the graduate diploma of early childhood education. If somebody has done a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in Australia, and they are right now on their 485 visa, they can do this graduate diploma of early childhood course. Now, this course is also available in Sydney now. You can do this online, right? It is available in Sydney, 1-year course. Again, cookery, a lot of my clients, they work in cookery, they work as a chef, but they do not have a qualification. So I think this opportunity you all can use. You can enroll yourself into a fast track program for 1 year. Diploma of Community Services is a 2 years program, whether you do it on a student visa or on a 485 visa, but this allows you to become a community worker in Australia. It's a 2 years program. Automotive, carpentry, tiling, and painting. These courses are also available on a fast track basis, which is for 1 year in Australia. Then I have Diploma of Nursing. This is usually available in all the states, highly in demand right now. Duration is between 1.5 to 2 years. Price will depend where you are, in which state you are, and accordingly, there are specific requirements. Like the best requirement you want is to have 7 each. Once you have it, you are good to go in this course. There is no other enrollment requirements as such. We at Asia Pacific have some exclusive deals with a lot of providers, right? So if you take admission through us, you can avail a scholarship of up to 30%, right? The popular courses which are in Australia. So if somebody is right now on a student visa and they want to change their course, right, considering if they have spent 6 months with their principal provider, and now they want to do the change of course, these are some popular courses which can definitely give you a pathway in Australia. Now, the first one is social work, followed by community services, teaching, information technology, civil construction design, and all the trade courses, which we discussed in the previous slide as well. Right, I will get my colleague Rowency to speak about social work for now. Okay, and then I'll take over in the next slide. Over to you, Rowency.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rowency Garcia, Senior Student Counselor of Asia Pacific Group, Sydney. So basically for social work, this is actually a practice based on profession and an academic discipline that promotes social change. So basically this is really popular for those who have a background in social work. For example, in the Philippines, we have numbers of clients that are actually have a background in social work in different sector. So basically, they can enroll to this course for additional or as for Australian for ASW assessment, so they can continue this here in Australia. So for entry requirements, at least you have a qualification or discipline in any other as mentioned, like you have a background in social work, and at least you have 36 units as defined by the Academy of Social Science in Australia. Like you have a background in psychology, law, political subjects, something like that. So basically you have to have at least all 7 and no less than 7 on English requirement. For example, for IELTS and PTE and other means of English proficiency exam. And next we have community service. So basically, for community service, this is the assessing body for this is actually ACWA for Australian Community Workers Association. So basically, if you wanted to study without social worker background, you can study community worker. You can study diploma of community service, or otherwise you can actually package this from certificate for in aging support or disability plus community service. So basically, if you studied in ACW, studied community service with ACWA accredited education provider, assessment will be easy and actually no experience required to get an assessment and be considered as a community worker. So for entry requirements, at least you have to have at least 5.5 English band score for IELTS or PTE. But for Filipino students to be informed, there is actually an entry or admission exemption for Philippines that you can also actually make an entry exam from our education provider. And for bachelors, at least 6.0 in academic.
I think we just need to add one more thing over here. For somebody who is doing a diploma of community services and they want to have their skill assessment, there are two pathways which ACWA offers. One is the accredited pathway, which Rowency have explained. The other one is a non-accredited pathway. So if somebody is in Australia who have done a diploma of community services, which is a non-accredited pathway, they will be required to undertake 1 year of work experience. When we say 1 year of work experience, that has to be full-time. 1 year
Yes,
post completion of studies. So a lot of students right now, let's say after the 1st of July, if they are completing a course which is not accredited, right, they will face challenges getting their skill assessment from ACWA. So we highly encourage all the clients to go into the accredited program because you do not need work experience after the completion of the 2 years program. You do not need work experience for your skill assessment. Right. Rowency, you want to do teaching?
yeah, that's fine.
All right, go for it.
Okay, for teaching, yeah, we have numbers of ways of getting this accredited profession. So we have bachelor and master, specifically for like primary and secondary and also early childhood. So basically, we have numbers of offers for NSW, ACT, SA, or if in case we haven't noted here the specific or specific states that you're required to stay, we can contact our team for further assistance. For English requirement, overall, at least you have a 7.5 for listening and speaking and 8 each for reading and writing.
Mm-hmm.
So for skill assessment, it is under the assessing body of Australian Institute of Teaching and School Leadership. So basically, at least you have like ITE qualification as evidence of supervised teaching practice. So you also have at least you have completed the qualification at Australian University or other colleges PRICOS provider, and also English language proficiency. As I've mentioned, at least overall 7.5 or 8 each for reading and writing. So it's like 7, 7, 8, 8 at least. So please go ahead for information technology.
All righty,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you.
I'll explain information technology. So guys, I've been sending messages in the chat. I'm able to see the messages which are coming in the chat from everyone. So we will be addressing your questions at the end of this presentation. So feel free to just put all your questions there. Okay, I will continue from where Rowency has handed over to me for IT. Okay, now this is a very informative, or I would say one of the best fields which a lot of my clients are doing. They are doing bachelor or masters of IT. right? In NSW, if you want to do this course, there are multiple providers. We have just given you a snapshot in this presentation of what the fees will be from minimum to maximum. Now, this depends on which provider you want to go and study at. We have covered ACT in South Australia as well, because these are the popular states where you can go and study something in information technology. I will be talking about the requirements. Of course, if anybody is doing IT, they go for their skill assessment to ACS. Now, Australian Computer Society have got two ways to do the assessment. One is the provisional assessment, which in general is required if you're applying for your 485 visa, right? So you will require, no English requirement is there for your provisional assessment, right? Of course, your occupation need to be in the MLTSSL list, right? And you can get your skill assessment, provisional skill assessment, based on which you can apply for your TR. Right, you must have completed an Australian bachelor's degree or higher at an educational institution in Australia, major in ICT, which is QEAC registered. When I say QEAC is the website which we refer, where all the courses for international students are listed. When somebody already finished their provisional assessment and they are onto their TR, and now they want to get their full skill assessment, right, from ACS. Now, ACS offers two pathways for full skill assessment. First pathway is either you can work full-time, work for 1 year for minimum of 20 hours per week to get the skill assessment. A lot of my clients, they find it hard to find job in computer, like in IT. So for them, a professional year program is a must, which they should do, right? It's an 11 months program where they are offered an internship of 3 months. Once this is finished, they can go for their skill assessment with ACS. Now, ACS offers two pathways. I've explained both. Right. Next one, Rowency, I'll explain this as well.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask a question over here?
Priyanka, if you don't mind, if you can just write your question in the chat box. I will be taking all the questions. Me and Rowency, we will be addressing all the questions at the end of this presentation, right? So we can just finish this part first, and then we jump to the question and answer session.
Sure. Thank you so much.
No problem. So this is relatively a new course. There is a lot of word and mouth about civil engineering draftsperson, right? This is a very popular course. I would say it's like an underdog course, which was always there from last almost 10 years, but not a lot of people, they were aware about this course. Now, this is a 2 years program, which is at advanced diploma level. 2 years advanced diploma of civil draftsperson. One second. Okay, sorry guys, I just need to mute someone. Sorry guys, just a gentle reminder to mute yourself. Okay, I know, got them. All right, so civil engineering draftsperson, this is a 2 years program, which you can do in most of the states, right? It's a very straightforward program because it's a civil engineering draftsperson. So the skill assessment will go back to Engineers Australia. 2 years cost is between 18 to 23,000, depending which state you are doing it in. Okay, skill assessment is very, I would say, relatively easy. You just need your completion of the 2 years program plus the CDR and basic English. There is no work experience requirement for skill assessment. Now, we do have a list of migration agents who work with APG in Sydney office and our other branches. If you want to discuss this one-on-one, your cases, or how this course can help you, feel free to visit us in one of our branches and we can help you as well, right? Last one is trade. I think Rowency has a good hand on trade. So Rowency, I give it back to you.
Sure, thank you so much. Okay, for trade occupation, we have numbers of actually 7 top trade occupation to be exact. But then we have here our automotive, cookery, carpentry. So basically, we have provided here the estimated amount of this course for the whole 2 years. So as you can see, for NSW, for automotive, it's 18,000 to 25,000, and for ACT, the bracket is 20,000 to $26,000 Australian dollars. Sorry, we are talking about here Australian dollars. Okay, so for South Australia is for 2 years is 18,000 to 25,000. For cookery, as well, we have 15,000 for NSW to 25,000, and for ACT a bracket from 18,000 to $25,000. Okay, and for South Australia, we have 18,000 to 23,000 Australian dollars, and also for carpentry, 25,000 to 30,000 for NSW, and for ACT almost the same, 18,000 to 20. Sorry, for ACT carpentry, it's not available. And for South Australia, it's 26,000 to 30,000. As I mentioned earlier, if there is specific states that you want to apply for these trade courses, you can contact our team and we will provide you an accurate information when it comes to specific areas that you would like to study. So basically, there are like 7 top courses for trade occupation, which are cookery, carpentry, automotive, tiling, floor and tiling course, and bricklaying, and also um painting, to be exact. Sorry, excuse me. For trade courses and for next please.
Yep.
And also we have nursing. For nursing, so it's very transparent when it comes to nursing course in Australia. For diploma of nursing, when you finish this course, you will be considered as enrolled nurse under short-term skilled occupation list. And for when you finish your Bachelor of Nursing, you'll be considered as a registered nurse, and also for masters. Definitely, you're also considered as a registered nurse. For entry requirement for diploma of nursing, at least you have all 7, and at the year 12 equivalent qualification. So basically, it is a requirement that you have at least an English proficiency test available, which is IELTS, either IELTS, PTE, OET, TOEFL, or IBT. With age, at least you have with age at least you are 18 years old. Okay, as we discussed earlier, these are the nursing pathway. So for Bachelor of Nursing, it's usually 3 years. And if you are studying enrolled nurse, you can also study, if you studied enrolled nurse plus Bachelor of Nursing, it's gonna be like 2 years additional. Sorry, my watch is actually, okay. Yes, please. For Bachelor of Nursing, there is like a conversion program that you can study it for 1 year. So it's usually if you are a nurse in the most especially in the Philippines, Nepal, and other countries, you can convert it for conversion program. But conversion program is usually really rare at this stage because it's usually it's already full. For Master of Nursing, it is 1.5 to 2 years. So entry is the same for entry admission entry. It's actually English for at least 7 each, and at least you have like a registration for Bachelor of Nursing. You have a registration like you have PRC license in the Philippines, considered as a nurse with experience at least 1 to 3 years experience from offshore. It will be highly considered in Australia for entry. Next, please. So for skill assessment for nurses, it's called Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council, or for short, it's ANMAC. And also for requirements to be your nursing to be completed, you need actually an APRA registration to get an entry for an ANMAC. Okay, so if you want to be a registered nurse, you have to have this.
Rowency, you are mute.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Can you just
Okay.
repeat with registered nurses? Sorry.
Okay, for registered nurses, thank you, Sergey. So for registered nurses, the assessing authority is actually ANMAC, and enable for you to get your to be a registered nurse or to be assessed properly, you have to have an APRA registration for overseas nurses. So basically, if you are a licensed nurse in Philippines, or a registered nurse, you have to have an APRA registration in Australia, and you have to be considered, you have to have a proficient English for like 7 each in each band score. And of course, a relevant qualification, at least you have like an experience in the Philippines as a registered nurse.
Okay, so I think I can explain this, Rowency. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
we are going towards the end of this presentation. I would just request everybody to mute themselves. Okay. I've been trying to mute everyone who was trying to speak in between the presentation, but we have got more and more people joining, so I think they are not muting themselves. Whoever is planning to speak anything, I would request them just wait until the end of this presentation. We will be addressing your questions. Temporary resident visas, a lot of people who are finishing their studies now, they are eligible to apply for their temporary resident visa, which is a 485 visa. There are two pathways. One is the graduate stream, one is the post-study stream. You must be under 50 years of age, have applied for and been granted a student visa on or after the 5th of November 2011, or you have an eligible visa. You must have held a student visa in the last 6 months. The first requirement. Of course, you must have a degree from QEAC registered course. You must provide the evidence of health insurance, which is OVHC. A lot of people who are studying, they currently have OSHC. Okay, when they graduate and they go on to the 485 visa, they go for OVHC cover. Okay, and evidence that you have applied for your Australian Federal Police check, as well as you need to provide the evidence that you have required English, which is, I think, in PT 50. No less than 36, if I'm not wrong, on top of my head. Right, so those are the requirement, and you must have completed your studies in the last 6 months. So those are the requirements for the temporary resident visa. Now, our presentation mostly have ended. Okay, it's just I want to cover, there have been news coming from the immigration that notice of intention to consider cancellation. This has been rolling out very recently, and we have seen a lot of clients, they are getting this notice from the department. Okay, now what this is, how it can affect you. I do have Usman Obaid, he is the director for Sydney as well as a registered migration agent, right, who will be addressing this particular notice of intention to consider cancellation. I would request everybody to please stay muted. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it out in the chat box. Okay, over to you, Usman.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. And obviously, like, I think a notification of intention to cancel is obviously a very big issue right now, because we started receiving, fortunately, a lot of our clients did not downgrade. So we don't have many cases, but generally speaking, we are getting a lot of students who are coming in with the NOICC who have received in the mail in the last like 1 week or so, right? So we have to be very careful what you're doing with this. Now, see, the main thing you have to keep in mind is that, legally speaking, you made a promise of sorts when you came to Australia to study, let's say, a master's course. Obviously, they expect you to do something similar level. They expect you to, if you're doing a master course, they expect you to do something similar, like master's of social work to master of teaching, or master of IT to teaching, right? Something of that sort. But if you're going to you came for, let's say, master in environmental engineering, but then you downgrade to commercial cookery. So obviously that gives a feeling that you're not a genuine temporary intern. So they can cancel your visa, because the whole crux of your visa application was dependent on what kind of course were you doing, right? So obviously it makes it much harder for them to consider you seriously as a main applicant. So now when you look at these sectors, so I think I would recommend all the people to try not to downgrade. That's one thing. And obviously immigration has been very lenient for the last couple of years since the COVID hit. So there's a lot of bad perception. People think that they can get away with it, and which was kind of true as well. But at this point, obviously legally they can cancel the visa, and if they cancel the visa, that could really derail your future PR applications and everything. Okay, now not everyone would get this. I agree with that. Like out of maybe 100, 10, 20 will get it, but how would we know that you are not part of that 20, right? So that's one of those things. You're taking a big risk. So it's better to keep the same level study, right? That's obviously what we prefer. Or even if you're downgrading, then you can apply independently for that particular level course. Like say if you downgrade to commercial cookery, you do, and you're very passionate about it, feel free to do it, but then make sure that at least you apply a new visa for that. Okay, so that's also an option for you. So you can apply new visa. If you're really passionate and you just found it recently, then you can go with that, but apply a new visa. So there are a couple of options you can go with it. But in case anyone, sorry, you or your friend or any or relatives, anyone got the NYCC, there's a structured process we can do to protect you, to reply to the immigration, to not cancel your visa. And even if they do cancel visa, to appeal and everything, that's something we can help you with. So we will try to assist all the people who are in this situation, but obviously it is what it is. So we have to be as careful as possible, but if it happens, come to us, we'll try to assist you, right? That's the thing. So yeah, so guys, obviously, I think Jayant and Rowency has already have already explained you most of the courses and everything. So if you have any particular courses and or let's say any particular question, I'll try to answer from migration point of view. And
Yes.
I can't see any message before I joined, so unfortunately, though, if you
Yes.
don't mind, can you
Usman
just
bhai, I
comment,
can
please?
help you.
Okay, sure.
I will help you with the questions. Just before I start the question and answer session, I just have a little thing to say at the end, because everybody has been very patient from last almost half an hour. Guys, so what we have covered totally is, until now, if you are in Australia, you have already spent 6 months with your principal provider and you want to change your course. In this case, feel free to reach out to us, as we can help you in obtaining a lot of scholarships, smooth admission process. We discussed all the popular courses which are there available in different states. We have an office in Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide onshore. We have offshore office in Philippines and in India, right? So if you have anything, feel free to reach out to one of our branches, and I'm sure we can help you with a lot of things. Also, for the students who are completing their studies into IT, accounting, or engineering, we do offer professional year services, right? We do have different packages. So in case you are one of them and you want to come and speak to us about what is the cheapest professional year you can do, depending on which field you are in, we can also look after that. Right. Now we will be taking the questions, as Usman is also here. So I will be addressing all the migration related questions to him. And accordingly, if you have any questions, right, and if in case we have missed your question and you want to raise your question, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask that question. But we would request everybody to go one by one. Right. I've got the first question from Somin Rahman. He says, can we do this if we have a bachelor's degree from BD, Bangladesh? Now, what course are you referring to, Somin, if you are still here?
Hi, hello, this is Shoman.
Hi.
So during that time, I was talking about the general list of fields that you were showing. But
Yes.
What we can,
yes, to be
Yes,
specific, we are CS grads from Bangladesh, and we
Mhm.
were looking at like a
yeah.
PR pathway, and
Mhm.
like, yeah. So
Sorry, guys, I think there's some
what?
connection issues. Really sorry for that.
That's okay. Usman, I've got,
So can you just repeat the question? I'm so sorry for that. Yes.
yes, I have Somin from Bangladesh, right? He has done a bachelor's degree, so he was asking something related to education. So he was just asking his question. Somin, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, yeah, sure. So what I was asking is that as a CS grad student, what's the cheapest grad diploma I can do?
Well, there are a range of courses, or I would say providers, who can offer you a graduate diploma in Australia, right? As well as that can give you a pathway into a master's program if you have already done a bachelor's degree from Bangladesh, right? I can suggest, if you can share your resume with us. I've got the email listed right now on the screen, nsw@asiapacificgroup.com, right? Or you can email us as well. I can get in touch with you and we can discuss your options. Well, there are a lot of options available. There are different providers, different states, different prices, depending how much you want to spend and which provider you want to go and which intake you want to go. That will just change how we go with that, the conversation on
Yes,
call.
yes, yes.
Right.
Thank you.
So
And Just a
Yes.
follow-up question. So the question that I was asking was for my spouse. She's also a CS grad student, and like that's why we were so looking at grad diplomas for either CS programs and other programs outside CS programs. And so my question is that, is it possible to do a grad diploma on something non-computer science? And does that raise any issues with the PR pathway?
Okay, so definitely we can help you with the admission, even if you want to go for a non-cognate background, right? Definitely there are a lot of options available. Now we just have to sit down, look at your qualifications in detail, okay, and see and give you the options which are tailored to your profile. Now, whether it gives you a pathway of permanency in Australia, I have the best person to answer this, which is Usman.
Yeah, I'll take over from this. So,
Thank you.
Somen, basically, your PR depends on your skill assessment. Okay. Now, either you get a skill assessment based on your overseas degree. I think you said Bangladesh, right? So if you and your wife, they have studied in Bangladesh, then you can use a Bengali degree, but you have to use 2 years of experience with it. Because the ACS criteria to get the assessment, as obviously you say CS, but computer science or IT is a very broad field. We have to see whether you're networking or security or software engineering, right? We have to check what's your specialty in it, because occupations are based on that. Now, the main way to get assessment are 2 ways. If you're done overseas degree, let's say anywhere other than Australia, whether it's Bangladesh or Philippines or India, Pakistan, wherever, as long as you have a main IT major degree or computer science degree, and you have 2 years of experience full time, and you can prove it, then yes, you can get assessment. So then you can study whatever you want in Australia, you can still get away with it. But if you don't have any experience back home, you just have the degree but no experience, so then you will have to come to Australia, study in IT over here, because then it's easier to get assessment that way. Because if you study for 2 years in Australia, let's say MIT or something like that, graduate diploma won't work, by the way. So you have to, and by the way, fees are not too advantageous, by the way. There's a lot of factors here. Obviously, you come contact us. Obviously, we do one-on-one consultation. So I think Mr. Jayant is the best person for this thing. But the main idea is that even if you come to Australia, come on an MIT, or there are a lot of cheap courses available as well. If you can come on a more expensive course, you can downgrade to not downgrade, I would say, but let's say you can change the course to a more affordable course, but it's MIT to MIT. Okay, there's a lot of ways you can do that, but responsibly, legally, and that's a very legal process to follow. Okay, we can do that, but I won't say just come on a graduate diploma, you'll be okay, because it's your 485 will become a trouble for you, which is a work visa. If you study for 2 years in Australia, it should give you at least 3 years of 485. And if you study in a STEM field, which computer science is part of, you can get up to 5 years of visa. So there's a huge advantage. So just to save a couple of $1,000, you would be losing 5 years of visa. So not worth it, right? So we have to, again, but that depends on your case. We have to dig in further to see what's the best thing for you, right? So that's something we can't go into detail right now, because it's unfair to other people. So yeah, but do contact us. You have an email address, send your resume. You can mention Jayant's name. Jayant, he's our senior education counselor, so he will assist you in understanding the best pathway. So don't worry about it. Okay, so that's one thing. So Jayant, any other question we have for the PR?
Yes. I've got a question from Ramneek. Nowadays, students are switching their courses to trade course. Is that positive or negative? I'm in a bachelor's of IT, but I want to do cookery. Can I go cookery? Can I go with cookery? Will that be safe or not?
Okay, so from Bachelor of IT to cookery, obviously you're downgrading, first of all. So obviously the answer is yes and no, because it is positive or also negative. So basically the negative part is that you're downgrading. Okay, but the release that we can do with Michelle, I think Jayant will agree that we can attach it to a higher course and protect you. Right? There's a way we can attach the current study with another course at the end without paying a fortune, just a little bit of money, and just to make sure you protect your visa this way, right? So there are tricks and there are a lot of ways we can do this legally and make you put you in a very safe spot. You're right. So this NYCC cancellations don't affect you, right? So there's a right way to do this. Okay. So, but for that, again, contact us. We'll tell you in detail, but it is possible. But now the positive side. Now trade courses are, as you know, in huge demand. But then again, if you're doing a trade course, obviously we have to see what course are you doing. That's if you're becoming a chef. chefs are in high demand right now, but last year chefs had a lot of trouble to get a PR in Sydney, in Melbourne. So they had to move to Adelaide, Perth. So there's a lot of, we have to look at how many points will you reach and what kind of profile you have. Okay, so those things do matter, but then again, it does vary year to year. Like this year, chef is a very hot course. Everyone getting the PR, like we are getting invites pretty much every month for that. But last year was opposite. It was very tough. So it changes time to time, but generally it's actually a good occupation. But again, that depends on multiple factors, which state you are in within that state, which city are you in? And number three, what's your backup plan? Are you married or not? Do you have English or not? Do you have Nati or not? And how much experience can you get? Do you really like chef work or not? There are a lot of factors there. So if we can see all of that, then we can give you a final answer. But it can be very positive. But for negative side, we can cover you up. So nothing to worry about. But contact us. We'll help you with that.
Yeah. Do we have to change? Do I can change it right now or after 6 months?
So 6 months. See. 6 months has to be there, first of all. Okay, that's like, see, these are two different requirements. Okay, so we have one is you're downgrading, so that's first criteria that we have to work on. And 6 months is the requirement anyway. Even if you go from bachelor's to bachelor's, you still have to wait for 6 months. Okay, there are a lot of agents, they are telling you clearly that you don't have to wait for 6 months and apply right away. Yes, you can do it, but then again, why are you taking the risk? Like why are you putting a black mark on your case? Keep it simple, because you're pretty much paid most of the fees anyway. You're not saving. Except for time, you're not saving anything else, right? So it's a better way to do it. And there's a lot of concurrent COEs going on as well. There are a lot of, like, you're doing 2 courses at the same time. So we have to look into those sectors. So I would say the smarter thing would be that obviously talk to some, see, that's why, again, a lot of people think that we say, talk to us, we'll tell you in detail. It's not a plugin. It's not a business thing. It's basically every case is different. Like I think there's 70 people or so right now. I can promise every one of you will have a different case. No matter how similar you think it is, it will be different. Even 2 friends who study the same way, they will have different English skills, different Nati, different everything. So we have to, again, talk about it, right? That's the thing. And again, you can have free consultation. People who are part of this, we can offer you free consultation for that as well. So come to us, we are there to help you, right? That's the thing. So we'll give the best advice. Simple. But
Okay,
you have to come with a particular detail. Yeah.
But if I wanna change university with the same course, can I before 6 months?
I wouldn't recommend that. No, that's the whole point. I mean, as I said, there are 2 different things. Downgrading is a different issue. Changing before 6 months is a completely different score. And secondly, you won't even get a release letter from this university. And for another university, if you're talking about like any university, even if it's a cheap one or whatever, they will probably not give you offer letter easily. That's another challenge, right? That's even if you can get it, be very wary of that college. That's the thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ramnik, what I can also
sorry, you have to move to the
suggest.
next one. We'll move to the next
Correct.
one.
Ramnik, what I can suggest is you just give us a call, Asia Pacific Group Sydney. Let my team know that you want to speak to me, right? I will explain this to you in precise detail. Okay, so that way I will be able to address all your questions one-on-one.
Actually, I am in touch with the Sirat from Asia Pacific.
Melbourne branch.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Then talk to her. She will explain in detail everything.
She is the best person who can guide you. She's a part of Asia Pacific. So just speak to her once, right? She will be able to address all your questions.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you.
Right, no problem. I have got a question from NA. I'm not sure if they are still here. If I'm in Australia under 482 visa and I would like to study and independently go through the PR process, can I do so using an online course? As I'm limited to be in Western Australia, do the same programs, requirements, guidelines, institutions apply? Well, technically, if you're doing online, then there is no problem. But as per the new requirements which I've come across, all the providers has to go face-to-face. All the classes will be going face-to-face, subjective to some courses. Let's say graduate diploma of early childhood education. You can do that course online, even if you are in Perth, right? There is no requirement to go because your visa is 482. There are other courses as well which you can do, which can allow you to study online. But if you, let's say, talk about the specific courses like IT-dominated courses or engineering-dominated courses, they would require you to go to college or the university at least once or twice a week.
Thank you for that. You have also indicated a lot of courses in on the eastern side of the continent, not on the western side. So that limits my options as such.
Okay.
So and that's, I think, my issue at the moment. So studying online is not an issue, but I think getting on the PR process with an online qualification is what I was trying to really understand. with a 482 visa, of course.
Okay. Now, because Australia is huge, right?
Yeah.
If I start covering all the states, it will take me about an hour just to run through the presentation.
Right.
And not everybody is very happy about it. Now, all the courses which we have actually discussed over here, we have some of the common providers who are even in Perth, right? Let's
Okay.
say Kaplan Business School is there. Just
Mm.
giving an example. They are here, they are in Melbourne, they are in Sydney, they are in Perth, Brisbane, everywhere they are, right? TAFE is there. Like there are some tertiary organizations which are present in all the states, right? Depending
Mm.
on what course of interest you are looking for, right? I'm more than happy, or my team can definitely assist you. So even if you are in Perth, I know, you want to stay in Perth. So we
Mm.
can advise you some courses which are available locally in Perth, right? And then we'll see how things go from there.
Okay.
In short, the options that you have number of options. It's just not one, you have number of options. We just have to see what you are looking for exactly.
All right. So I'll reach out on the email and
Yes,
look for
please.
you then.
Just
Thank you, Jen.
send an email across. I will get in touch with you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, no
Alright.
worries. Thank you.
Jed, I think there are some questions I can see on the chat now. I'll just try to
I
reply
have more
to them.
questions. Usman bhai, I've got more questions which are above.
Before,
Right,
okay,
so
sure,
I'll
sure. You
just
go ahead.
cover them and then we'll go down.
Not a problem. Tell me. Yes.
Okay. From ESE to everyone, can you use RPL for community services towards PR?
Okay. Then that's a mixed answer. Basically, RPL, we have to see like how much experience you have in total. Because if you have an accredited degree, okay, you don't need experience. But if it's not accredited, then you need 1 year. If it's RPL, we have to see how, because I think that increase the number of years of experience you will need. So we have to check. So generally, we don't prefer RPL pathway for community service, especially because trade occupation, yes, it works. It's a 1-year-old rule now, but it works. But community service, we don't want to rely on that at all, because generally the rule of thumb is that you have to try to study the right thing. Okay, even then, if it's not accredited, you still need 1 year experience. So don't you think with RPL they would need more? So I wouldn't recommend that. Yes, but I'll have to check the detailed part. Yeah.
Okay. Shivani Patel, what is provisional assessment?
Okay, provisional assessment is basically, there are two purposes for it. The first one is that okay, and the main purpose of provisional assessment is that if like normally speaking, 485 visa holder, then there's a subclass of 485 for people who are going with, let's say, who studied commercial cookery, or they have done let's say a course like advanced diploma civil construction design, like those kind of courses, because you can't get the like, let's say you don't get the assessment in your hand right now. Okay, so you can get a provisional assessment and use that assessment to get the 485 visa. Okay, it's only for the 485 visa and graduate entry pathway, only that pathway. Okay, so for diploma, for bachelor holders, masters holders, you can get the 485 for 3 years or 5 years easily, right, without any kind of assessment. But for diploma holder, you generally need a provisional assessment to prove that you are in the long-term list, and then you can apply. There was an exemption till 30th of June, which is ending this 30th of June. So because of that, a lot of people did not need to go for the provisional assessment. But again, from 1st of July onward, it will become a compulsory requirement that you have to have a provisional assessment to be able to apply the 485 graduate entry pathway for 2 years, right? That's the main purpose for it.
Okay, I've got the next question from Ishani. So she missed the initial bit. Is there any pathway for students who have completed their masters in accounting and currently on their 485 visa, granted only for 2 years, which expires soon?
Sorry, can you repeat the first part? Like they done masters of?
Masters of Accounting, MPA.
Okay.
And their 485 is finishing as well.
Yes.
Which was granted for 2 years, which expires soon.
See, it is going to be tough. You could go with, okay, let's say if your visa expiring soon, you can even go within the next 90 days, you can go for the COVID visa as well for now. But to be very frank with you, I think accounting is going to be very tough, very tough. The points are incredibly high. Even the last invitation we received for the 190, they were 95 points. And the last invitation for the 189 were 8th of December. And on 8th of December, they were at 85 points. So again, it's going to be very hard. So I will recommend you, obviously you have access to the, you guys have seen the whole presentation. So choose something which is going to be making your life easy. Because if you stick to accounting, you're leaving it all to luck. Unless you have 9,500 points. And even then there's a 20-30% chance of luck. But in normal scenario, if you're an 85 pointer, 80 pointer, then you don't stand a chance. Simple. Yeah.
Okay, next question, Usman bhai, is from Priyanka Gupta. After completing Masters of IT, can I directly apply for 485?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can. Yes,
Okay.
because a master's course, as I just mentioned for previous question, that if you've done a master's for 2 years, 92 weeks course, and you've studied for at least 16 months, you're eligible to apply for the 485 visa.
Yep. Next question is from Stephen McDonald Dilly. Cookery cost in Victoria. Now the cookery package in Victoria depends which provider you want to study. Average between 16,000 till 23,000. It is purely subjective to which college you want to go and study at. There are different options available. So you can get in touch with us. Stephen, if you're still there, you get in touch with us. I can discuss the prices in person with you. Okay. Next question is Ramnik, we have already covered. Okay, from Fiona. What pathway can be considered for BS Sports Science graduates?
It's sports science graduate.
Yes.
Sports is again, unfortunately, there's not a lot of pathways you can follow with that. There are like sports, let's say, sports facility manager, stuff occupations like that, but those are in short-term list. And those are very specific. And you have to have experience of 1 year in that field and then get the assessment. It's a very, very difficult pathway to follow. So sports management, those things are not, I would say, very ideal for PR related pathways.
Next question, Usman bhai, from Sach. Will you be talking about the 189 and 491 visa? And then there is another question from a different person. Any changes confirmed for 491 or 190 visa for the next financial year? So we can just club these two questions together.
So
and if you can
see, we will be talking in the next, we have like 7-8 different webinars lined up pretty much every second week or so. So we will be covering pretty much all the topics from the states to different pathways and everything. We'll try to make sure that we cover most of the elements. But see, here's the thing. If you look at the overall picture, just give a snapshot. Like 189 is active after a long time. So in December they had a round, and till now there's like a 5th round that happened this migration year. So they've been very quite active in a way, right? So the thing is, if you look at, let's say, the previous few years, 189 has been very dead, and the numbers are so tiny. Like they were inviting like 1,000, 500, 1,500 people a month, a quarter. So it was very tough. Finally, after a long time, they're inviting in decent numbers. So it's happening. So 189 is going to be definitely be the same way for next year. So they're good numbers for it. And we already know that 194 numbers are pretty like 90% the same way as well. So whatever we saw this year, we will see the replication next year as well. So that's a good sign. Now, the thing that you have to understand is that 190 and 491 is dependent on the state. And states can change their requirements, prerequisites. They could require more experience, less experience, more points, less points. They can do a lot of stuff, but that's usually announced in around July, August, around that time. So we will be conducting more webinars. So stay tuned. We will be there, like our Facebook page. So if there's anything, we'll be updating you over there as well. So the thing is, 190, 491, again, this is my personal advice, so I can't say that this is going to be a fact, but I personally think that the rules will remain pretty much similar to what we have right now, with some minor changes. Obviously, the changes will be there, but they won't be drastic changes like last year, like previous year, the previous year. So it's not going to be a drastic change because the numbers are constant. And because of that, all the people who were waiting for 1 year or 2 year, people who graduated in 2019, 2020, they were waiting. Those are the ones who got the invite this migration year. So from 1st of July, the most people who are going to get the invite are the ones who are graduating in the last 1 year or something, right? So the new graduate, they are going to get the fair chance at the invitation with lower points. Like if you already noticed, points for IT went from 95 to 100 to 85. Okay, so this is again unprecedented. So it's happening. So if this continues, things will be pretty positive for the next 1 year. So that's exactly why you have to brace yourself, prepare yourself, so that next migration year there's very little that can go wrong, right? So that's the thing. So you have to do your homework. We are there to help you. So if you do everything properly, next migration is going to be really good. But we have to prepare for it. You can't be reactive. You have to be, like you have to proactive. So you have to prepare and then wait for the good results. You can't just wait for the good results to happen, wait for your friends to get the invite, and then you apply for it. You're late already, that means, right? So you have to apply well before everyone else. That's the goal. Yeah.
Next question, what is the cheapest school to take business management from Christine? Christine, just send me an email to NSW at Asia Pacific Group. I can let you know the cheapest option available over there. Usman, my next question from Sheikh Rizwan. Hi, my spouse has done 4-year bachelor in social work from Pakistan. So I need to discuss the further process of PR pathway.
Okay, so Rizwan, the thing is, for social work, there is an accredited list of degrees that they will accredit, right? They will happily assess. The problem with that is overseas degrees can be assessed. I have cases from overseas countries in which we got the assessment positively, but there are some caveats. We have to be careful of what kind of degrees are taking in, because they do look at the country of the degree itself, the university, the course components, everything, and then they make a decision. So while we have cases which have been approved, but there are also people who were not approved. So we have to be very careful what we apply with, what kind of degree we apply with. So I would say contact us. We will try to dig into your qualification, everything, to see if we can do anything about it, right? So yeah, but that's something dependent highly on your degree itself. But do remember, you need 7 each in 𝐏𝐻𝐿TS academic for social work. If you have that score, then you should actually proceed for the PR process. Yeah. But PR process is quite good for them, like 75, 85 points, you can get an invitation. So it's one of the lower points of occupation, like nursing, teaching, civil construction design, and social work. So it's one of the top 5 occupations. Yeah. So
Right.
Jayant, I think we have to end soon. So I'll just try to pick some randomly. I just saw that.
I just have one question which is left over here. I think then we are good to go with the set of questions which you are also able to see. I've got a question from Renner Perago, which says, question for automotive course in Victoria, what's the duration and fees to be expected? Well, duration is 2 years for any trade course minimum, plus you need to do 1-year job ready program, cost between 16 to 23, 24,000, depending where you want to study, which provider. So you can send me an email across if you're still listening to us. Please send us an email, and we can definitely look into this.
Can I also just quickly?
Okay.
I think he's about to say something, but
yes, I was thinking. I think you got mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So can I just quickly check again that automotive in Victoria it still offers a pathway to PR?
Well, technically, all trade occupations, they give you a pathway, right? As Usman correctly said, that depending on what course you are doing, which state you are doing, you need to go and look at the requirements of those state. But I think Usman can briefly just touch base on whether it's a good occupation to study in Victoria.
It is a good occupation to study there. Like it's again, see, remember one thing. Victoria, NSW are right now, especially for the last almost 1 year, they have been very positive with all the trade occupations, right? So they were really negative the previous year. They said they're very positive, but just I'm sure you can get if you get a good job, you get the right point, you can get the invitation. Even with I wouldn't say you would need too high of points, like something like 75, 70, like around mid-level, you should be fine. It won't be as low as 65, 60, but it should be like something in the middle. But the main idea is, even if you don't get a Victoria, we can definitely make it happen for you in Western Australia, Adelaide, different cities, NSW. So you have choices available. So don't feel trapped. Like if you get the study done there, you can see how the rules are at that time, at the graduation time. And even if it's not positive, nothing to be worried about. You can do the job ready program in the correct state and get the PR from that state. So you'll always have that freedom, right? So it's a good occupation to follow. So I'm telling you.
Can I interject something real quick? What brought me to this question is the current revamp of immigration policies in Australia. And my expectation in this session is sort of like a report of whether or not things have changed. I know for a fact that automotive has always been in the list of shortage skills. And that brought me to my question, is this still a pathway to PR with the current changes in immigration laws and policies?
See, here's the thing. We cannot predict the future. right? We cannot predict recession. We cannot predict, we are predicting house falls with the interest rate rising, but house were increasing across Australia. So you cannot predict. And obviously, if you could predict, like obviously, like for example, I'm not economist, neither are you. But if you could predict recession right now, then I'm sure the RBA or the finance minister are also predicting it, right? So they would take measures accordingly. But anyways, we skipped recession for the last 33 years. Okay. Anyways, the main thing is you cannot predict. Like even if I say you shouldn't do motor mechanic or automotive, you will still do it. I know that. So that's why if you like it, do it. You won't. The only difference it will make to your PR path is that you will have to consider maybe moving to a different state after getting the assessment to, let's say, but maybe NSW, maybe Victoria, like I'm sorry, for Victoria to NSW, Victoria to Adelaide, Victoria to let's say Perth, but you will still have some option available because it is generally a good occupation, right? There's a shortage. So end of the day, you will get invitation, but the worst that can happen to you is moving around. That's the worst, which is not a very bad deal. You're not talking about going to Darwin.
Okay.
Yeah. I have nothing
Thanks for
against
adding your
Darwin, but I
insight.
just
Yeah.
No worries.
Anyway,
Usman
so
bhai, you can
we
start
move to the
taking
next
the question.
Yeah.
I just need to address one thing to Zakia, who has got a visa refused from Philippines. Zakia, we won't be able to discuss the refusal over here in front of everybody. So I would suggest you just send us your email with the refusal letter. Okay, we will have a look and include your contact details. We will get in touch with you. We'll get Rowency to speak to you on this. Right. I think Usman bhai, my questions are finished.
I'll go one by one.
Hasham actually raised the hand now at that time, so he's the next one. If he can, he can just unmute
Jayant,
and
I
ask.
think we have to, because we are short of time, so we have to just do some. I have to pick up some questions randomly, and I have to move further because I think we'll go out of time then. Okay, so I'll just keep it simple. Okay, so Hasham, I would not be able to take your question right now. We'll have to randomly check few questions and then move forward because I understand we have time limitation right now. I hope you understand. Sorry about that, man. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just pick up some questions. Okay. So okay, Harkirat asked that for HR. Okay. So for HR, it's a good question. Why to take it is because a lot of HR professionals saying you cannot get a PR. That's not true. You can get a PR, but it's just that you have to play a slightly different game. Let's say HR, you won't get a PR as an HR advisor or something like that. You have to go with a recruitment consultant, right? Those occupations are there that can be assessed through wet assess, and you will have to consider going for not the 189, but because the short-term occupation, go for the 190 and 491 in Canberra and NSW. We already have invites from Canberra for that occupation. Even NSW it is open, and it's a low point occupation because there's not a lot of competition there. So it's actually a good profile to follow, right? So Harkirat, if you need any help, contact us, but it's a good path here. Jenny said that I'm just picking a few questions that can address most of the people. I just try to be generic questions. So Jenny says she's done accredited course. So will she need to work or not? So you don't need to work if it's, so the rule is if you have done an accredited course of community service, okay, then you don't need any experience because your placement, everything is deemed to satisfy that requirement. Okay, so you can just use that to get the assessment and apply for the PR directly. Let's say 190, 490, right? Or like these kind of visas. You can't apply the 189 because it's not available for 189. But if it's not accredited, if it's not in the accredited list for ACWA or ACWA for short, you will have to do 1 year experience in that case. But that's why we always tell people that if you do community service, spend a little more and do the right version. That's it, right? And so that'll save you a lot of trouble. So that's one thing we can also do. In terms of I think essay, he's saying, do you need work experience for project management, not specifically construction? Well, essay for project management, there's 2 or 3 kind of main project management. IT project management, for this, the process completely different to IT. So you have to do a professional layer or experience as a project manager in IT domain. The second one, which is also very good occupation, 65 points only, you can get the 189 visa easily, is called construction project manager. But then you have to study construction project management for at least 2 years, and then you work for 1 year as a project manager and then apply. So that's one option. The third is basically program or project administrator. So it's a junior level occupation. It's not a project manager, it's a project administrator role. So So that's an occupation you can go for it and open an NSW, Victoria, and across the board pretty much, right? So but it's not a long-term occupation, so no 189, but you can get the 190 PR with that. So that's also an option for you. So I think I'm trying to cover most of them. Yeah. So okay, Joseph is saying what are the best options after completing public health? I'm bridging visa, waiting for 485. Also, how long will okay, so Joseph, you'll probably get a 3 years 485 visa. But when you look at your qualification, but see, 485 visa is not a main, I think, stress point for you right now. I think the main, obviously you should be able to get a 3 years. That's not a big deal. The main problem is, what are you going to do for PR? So if you don't have a bachelor's in something which is going to get you the PR, and you have only, let's say, MBBS or BDS or something of that sort, and then you did your Master of Public Health is not going to get you PR. Okay. Why I know this? Because I've tried a lot of cases in which I try to find some crack, some way to get it in. It didn't work. So that's what I'm telling you from experience, from working on cases like that. Public health is notoriously hard to get, because what happens is there's no occupation attached to it. The closest thing we can find is primary health organization manager. But for that, you have to be a manager for a primary health organization. And for that, the definition has changed as well. They don't take any dental clinic. They don't take any small clinics. They want a hospital big or tertiary level. So it's a very complicated, and most people who are just graduating, they're not going to get that, simply put, right? They wouldn't got a job as administrator or something, not as a manager. So that's also a factor you can factor in, right? So when you look at these factors, obviously, the best bet is you do something fast track or something, let's say 1 year, 2 year diploma, something cheap, effective, so you can get a PR with that pathway. Because if you stick to that, it's just going to give you a lot of disappointment. That's the thing. Unless you do manage to get the right job and everything, then yes, it can work. But then again, there's a reason, because obviously all my clients, they're from good universities, like actually not, I would say different type of universities, but most of them are very highly educated. Anyone who's doing master, they have done BDS or MBA, then they do Master of Public Health. So obviously these are very highly qualified people, intelligent people, hardworking people. So they struggle to find the right job, appropriate job. So that's why I can tell you from experience that if I look at the probability, that probability is low. So that's why I try to move to a different field, so that you, while you're on a 485 visa, you study the right thing and get the PR with that way, right? So this is what my advice is. All right. So anyway, so I think, guys, we are pretty much done from our side. So we are gone over time. So any other questions, obviously, please email us. We'll try to answer as much as possible. If not, then visit one of our offices. We are based out of Jayant, Rowency, and me. We are based out of Sydney. And we do have branches in Melbourne, 3 branches in William Landing, Reservoir, and the main branches in Melbourne. And we do have a branch in Adelaide and 6 branches in Philippines as well. So if we are out there to help you, and asking for help is only to help you. So that's why it's very important that if you ask for help, you have to understand you're trying to come to the experts to find the right advice. So don't hesitate. There's no question which is stupid. There's nothing which you should be ashamed of or embarrassed to ask. Ask anything, right? We have this. We respect our clients. We respect your personality. We respect your personal life. We respect all that stuff. So we respect the boundaries. So, but come to us and ask, because a lot of times in these kind of situations, we just take a situation, we give our thoughts on it. But there's a lot of if and buts involved. So that's we have to sit together and discuss, right? So that's one thing. All right, guys, I am signing off. Thank you so much for your time and listening to us. Jayant, do you have anything else?
I think I'm also done, Usman Bhai. I would thank everybody who have waited so patiently listening to us. We will be putting a copy of this on our social media, which is Facebook handle Asia Pacific Group Sydney, and to our other pages as well. So if you're in Melbourne or Adelaide, you can like our page, follow our page. The copy of this will be uploaded there. And in case we have missed your question, email is in front of you. Please send us an email and we can address your questions. And if you want to book an appointment with one of our registered migration agents, just give us a call and we can fix up the phone appointment, Zoom session, or a face-to-face consultation with our registered migration agents, or a free consultation with the educational consultants. Right. I think I'm done,
guys,
Usman
thank
Bhai.
you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining. Enjoy the weekend, and we will see you soon in our next webinar.